years of torture. This must stop now.
Welcome to this rally for the 7th anniversary of the U.S. war in Iraq. Come on, everybody step forward. My name is Jane Cutter, and I'm with Answer, Act Now to Stop War and End Racism, and I'll be one of your MCs today. And this is?
I'm Emma Kaplan, and I'm with The World Can't Wait.
So we do have a couple of short announcements before we get started. We're going to be marching at 1:30 today after the rally. So if you do need a restroom during that time, there are restrooms in the mall, in the food court.
And if you have to smoke during the rally, be considerate of other people and just step outside of the crowd.
All right, yeah. Also, there are some trash bags and trash cans around here. Please, let's not leave this park a mess. If you brought it with you, please take it out with you. Some of the literature tables may have extra trash bags as well.
The nightmare of the U.S. invasion is not over. President Obama is now using drone raids in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, killing hundreds of civilians. And there are now more troops in the Middle East underneath Obama than there were under Bush. Yesterday, thousands marched in the streets of Chicago, 5,000 people in Washington, D.C., L.A., San Francisco.
And in reality, we're looking at not 7 years of the Iraq War, but 19 years of U.S. intervention in Iraq, starting with the '91 Gulf War, followed by 12 years of genocidal sanctions, and then this current war and occupation.
Shame.
This war and occupation has killed over 1 million Iraqis, displaced 4 million from their homes, and has led to the deaths of thousands of troops.
Arrest Bush!
Arrest Bush! That guy's a war criminal. We are protesting the U.S. war and occupation of Afghanistan because this is not a good war gone bad. These wars were illegitimate from the beginning, and they were based on lies. Woo!
We're also here to say fund human needs. To paraphrase Dr. Martin Luther King, each bomb that goes off in Iraq or Afghanistan destroys a dream for a better life in the poor communities here at home.
And we won't forget the people of Palestine who suffer under an occupation that is wholly backed and supported by the United States, living in one of the biggest concentration camps in the world. We will not forget the people of Haiti who have been exploited by the U.S. and occupied by the U.S. numerous of times, and where there are troops occupying right now.
In fact, we say no to all U.S. intervention and occupation, whether it's drone attacks in Pakistan, aid to Saudi Arabia to attack insurgents in Yemen's civil war, or a stepped-up propaganda war and blockade against Cuba, or Bolivia, or Venezuela, or anywhere on the planet. We say no, hands off.
Not to the bases also!
So we're going to be hearing from a number of powerful speakers today, and today needs to be the beginning of sustained protests in the streets, where we don't leave the streets until there are millions joining in with us, and the government that we live in that's waging these wars is forced to respond to end these wars now. And so join me in welcoming Maggie Lawless from World Can't Wait, who is our first speaker.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Let other people hear that you're here. Give it a big loud shout out. The Bush regime may be gone, but this empire remains intact. 7 years after shock and awe in Iraq at the invasion of occupation of Afghanistan, and 14 months into change you can believe in, and things are going in a terrible direction. 1 million Iraqis are dead, millions displaced, tens of thousands of Afghan civilians blown away. More Afghans have died in this war during this first year of Obama's administration than in the entire time of the Bush regime. Think about that. This is an outrage, one outrage after another. Obama's expanding the war to 100,000 troops and saying that they're saving Afghan civilians. They're not saving Afghan civilians, they're killing them. He's using secret operations and unmanned drones in 5 countries, and not only is this illegal, it's unjust, it's immoral, and it's against humanity. His defense of the Bush regime, this era of torture law, lawyers, and war crimes in the name of executive privilege is unconscionable. His refusal to allow 600 detainees in Bagram, Afghanistan, Afghanistan to be identified and to be denied habeas corpus rights or lawyers to challenge the detention put the lie to the claim he made a year ago that we do not torture. And yes, the right wing is breathing down the neck of Obama and questioning the legitimacy of his presidency because he's black. These racist teabaggers were out in force yesterday. They were calling Representative John Lewis the N-word, right? These people have legitimacy. These people have more of a voice in the press and are more exposed in the press than we are. And we need to be much more active than they are, and for the right reasons. So the neocons, yeah, the neocons have an initiative, and yet the only promise that Obama has given us and that he's kept is the one to spread the illegitimate occupation of Afghanistan. Now, the people of this country have no interest in supporting these racist teabaggers, but we have no interest in supporting Obama, the war president, either, because, you know, here's the thing. This president is the head of an empire, and that empire is conducting war, waging war on innocent civilians around the world. And people need to take a stand and oppose that. And there's no solution in Congress, so don't look there. Because changing the face in the White House is just making it easier to take the poison. Am I right? So what we need, and what only we can do, is make a change in what people in this country will accept being done in their names. If people have gotten confused about whether the Iraq war is over, tell them it's not over. It's becoming a permanent occupation. If people are saying that the war in Afghanistan is somehow a good war because Obama says it, show them the faces of the people who've died because of the bombs that are being dropped from this country on them. If kids are telling you they want to join up for the military because they're fighting for Obama and it sounds better than fighting for a president they hated, tell them don't do it. Don't ask, don't tell. You know, people are saying that, well, they might finally repeal that. That is no reason to join a military occupation where you are going to be trained in order to commit war crimes. If people are listening to the Dick Cheneys of the world and saying, well, maybe we need torture because it's necessary and safe, you find people saying that, you have to tell them, no, it is not. Torture is not right. It should never happen. You want to stop this war? Do people here want to stop this war now? I gotta hear it harder. Louder! Because we gotta reactivate things and reinvigorate this movement. We have to have massive political resistance by the millions who are determined to put it on the line and resist these wars and occupations so that we can stop them. And no matter how it looks right now, it looks like it's not possible, but this is not the end of history. There's a whole basis to bring forward millions of people to oppose these wars and occupations. And so let me just end by saying this. One of the ways that World Can't Wait is going to be a part of this reinvigorating the movement is we're calling on people, especially youth in this crowd, to join our contingent, to be part of the We Are Not Your Soldiers tour to your campuses. We're going to have veterans going to the campuses and talking about not only the reality of the occupations, but to help the students resist the recruiters. So you can go to wearenotyoursoldiers.org. Come over, raise the orange bandana over there. They're talking. Over in that corner is where the table is. People should sign up to bring this tour to your school. Listen, only we can reverse this dynamic. The future is unwritten. Which one we get is up to us. The world still can't wait. Thank you.
That's right, the world cannot wait. Join me in welcoming Karen Jones from Code Pink.
Also, I want to say that I work with a group, Collateral Repair Project, that works with the Iraqi refugees in Jordan. At this very moment, people are there. And SNO, Nonviolent Opponents of War. So my beginning has already been stated, but it's so important I need to say it again. We're here today, well, with nice sunshine now, but also braving the elements for the 7th anniversary of the Iraq invasion. 7 years since shock and awe and the illegal invasion of a sovereign nation. Our people are shamed by the torture and war crimes done in our names. It's 19 years since the Gulf War and the sanctions that killed 500,000 children and more. $1 trillion spent. What do the Iraqis see now? Have things improved any? Tragically, still, little electricity, hardly more than 6 hours a day in Baghdad. Little clean water, few hospitals or schools have been rebuilt, huge joblessness, and the rights of women in every day. And the 4 million refugees, they can't return to their friends and their relatives anytime soon due to these realities. And we know about the 4 million refugees. And beyond that, depleted uranium has caused thousands of documented cancer deaths and birth defects. Our legacy for generations, 1,700 tons of depleted uranium. Yet, we know things could be different. Just take a look at our military bases there in Iraq. Ample electricity, enough water for Olympic-sized swimming pools, state-of-the-art hospitals, movie theaters, restaurants, everything a person could want. Still, the Iraqis have nothing. Where's their recovery? Instead, privatization and corporations are exploiting their resource. Joblessness caused by the use of forced labor. This invasion and occupation has revealed the true face of global military dominance and its brutality and crimes against the peace. We all know that we are paying dearly in terms of everything we value as a community. 52 cents of every dollar we pay in our taxes goes to war-related spendings. Only 17% is left for needs at home, and almost nothing for those whose countries we've destroyed. So why can't our tax money be used for justice? Each day, we spend $2 million on war. At the end of every month, $12 billion is gone. Seattle alone has spent $2 billion so far. Yet, the Iraqi people, the Afghani people are no better off. Neither are we. We need to make noise, work together, be out in the streets, and accomplish at least these two things for Iraq. One, U.S. troops and contractors all home now. There is a small glimmer of hope in the treaty that's been signed, calling for all troops out of Iraq by the end of 2011. It's time-based. They can't make any excuses. And, excuse me. And so, okay. So far,
the United States government quit sending people over there? Why don't we give them jobs when they don't have to
right.
join the military?
Absolutely.
Fighting killed innocent
so far, oops, sorry. So far, President Obama has followed these guidelines, but let's make sure it really happens.
We wouldn't have
To make this happen, we need to be vocal and visible. The military-industrial complex is geared to sabotage this, and they want no deadline at all. 2, we need honest reparations for the Iraqi people. When someone damages your home, aren't they expected to make reparations? Yet, the U.S. budget has no budget for reparations. As a donor, we give less proportionately than any other nation. We take in fewer refugees. We can do better. IVAW and others are calling for reparations to be part of the package. We all need to press for the same. Leaving Iraq is necessary, is imperative. Leaving behind a devastated country is not an option. So, while we're up against powerful forces, we are the majority. Our tax dollars need to be used for people. They need to be used to the benefit living people and our planet. Let's make it happen! As we learned in 2003, our actions one action doesn't stop the war machine. Instead, we need to mobilize and show our determination and build a movement. Power to the people. We got a cheer. Yay! donate right now. Since our government isn't doing much to help on this 7th anniversary, please donate to one of the organizations on the ground that's giving much assistance. There's many of them. Go to the web when you get home and make a donation. Finally, I want to ask you some questions that George Orwell might ask. Is war peace? No! Is unending war what we want for our foreign policy? No! Do we want news reporting or news speak? News reporting! And lastly, should Texas have the right to rewrite our history books? No! Okay, now I'll introduce Sorry, my voice is going a little bit. And if it sounded like I was exaggerating anything, most of my information is from Dar Jamal, one of the few independent reporters. So you can go to his website and get many more facts than I've said. Now, the next part of our program is a solemn part. And during 3 times, we will have moments when those lives who have been taken so tragically will be commemorated. Once for those civilians in Iraq, once for those in Afghanistan, and once for those Washington State soldiers. With each conflict, the civilian population suffers more death than those we send to fight. In Iraq, nearly 80% of those killed are innocent civilians, mostly women, children, and the elderly. Over 1 million people, and don't let anybody tell you less. Over 1 million people in Iraq have lost their lives since that occupation and invasion began, truly since the sanctions began. Now, the names of a very few people from Iraq will be read, beloved of their families, and that will mark the immense loss of the people of Iraq have suffered. Bert Sachs and Jerry Haynes, who have been to Iraq many times, bringing medicine and hope and having seen the deaths of loved ones. We'll read these names now. After each name is read, please raise a marker, those of you who have markers. And after each reader will be a ring, and as they do at the SOA Watch in November, all of us will say presente. Those people are with us forever.
My name was Garrett. I got all these secrets.
I think of the face of a little boy I met in the marketplace in Baghdad in June of 2003, whose 12-year-old brother was killed by an errant American bomb. To me, he represents the face of all unknown, unspoken, unidentified children who have been killed in these vicious attacks on the people of Iraq. And now I read to you the names of some who have been identified. Haider Abdullah Kamal Almathi, a 21-year-old male student. Abdullah Nasser Galel, a 22-year-old male agricultural worker. Ahmad Basel Kathir Abdulri, a 22-year-old male student.
Did everybody hear that? Please hold up your markers. Please hold up your markers and say presente. Presente. Now Bert.
In the year 2002, I went to Basra with Jim McDermott and 2 other congressmen.
You gotta get closer to the mic.
In 2002, I went to Basra with Jim McDermott and 2 other congressmen. The doctor who was there that I wanted, particularly McDermott, to hear, spoke about the deaths that were occurring. And for me, there was a young boy who was under 10 years of age that I saw probably a year before, or maybe 6 months before. I simply asked that doctor, Hamal, I asked the doctor about Kamal, and she just said one word back to me. That word was dead. And it was the saddest one word I can remember hearing. Abdul Salam Abdul Hussein, an adult, a Shiite cleric. Ahmed Salan Al-Dajari, an election candidate. Saif Abdullah, an adult political party member.
Fatma Hazma Taleb, a 6-year-old girl. Nawaz Hassan Akru, a 7-year-old girl. Tahar Abdul Muhammad Abdullah Al-Aqsan, a 9-year-old male.
Bashir Hadi Al-Hassani, an adult Sunni cleric. Ayad Al-Izi, an adult political party official. Ali Al-Isawi, an adult political party official.
Hey, everybody!
All right, thank you. We now have a speaker our next speaker is named Nita Palmer. Nita recently wrote this book. It is entitled War and Occupation in Afghanistan, Which Way Forward? And she's a member of the Mobilization Against War and Occupation. They've come here all the way from Vancouver, BC. Please give a warm welcome to Nita Palmer.
Thanks, Jane. Like Jane said, my name's Nita, and I'm from Mobilization Against War and Occupation in Vancouver, BC. We're very happy to be here joining you today, even though it's for such a sad cause on this anniversary of the invasion of the war in Iraq. Our world today is threatened. Humanity is threatened by one thing more than anything else, which is the war and occupation which is threatening to destroy our world. It's not just the war in Iraq that we are here today to mark, but a new era of war and occupation which has opened up with the invasion of Afghanistan, the invasion of Iraq, invasions and bombings of Somalia, threats against Sudan and Iran. All of these things are threatening to destroy humanity. And I think it's very, very important that we come here together, us from Canada, all of you from the United States, to be building a united and effective anti-war movement. A movement which can truly challenge the threats to our world today. Challenge the fact that millions have been killed in Iraq. Millions more are having their future destroyed by the effects of depleted uranium use in their country. Challenge the fact that thousands of innocent civilians are being killed in Afghanistan, and that a new slaughter is being prepared for there more and more every day. These are the things which are absolutely threatening humanity, and we can't afford to sit idly by and wait. It's very important that we're all out here together today. But I come here with the message that we want to unite with you across the border, across the 49th parallel, to build a movement, not just of a few people, but a consistent and effective anti-war movement of thousands of people, connecting struggles at home and abroad. Because this is what we need to do. It is not just we need to end one war, we need to end another war. It is now that the future of all of humanity is at stake. So to join all of you. I invite you, if you're interested in coming up to Vancouver, to join us sometime to see our table with literature from Mobilization Against War and Occupation, and come join us. And I'd like to thank everyone very much for putting on this rally today, for having us come down here, and I'd like to unite with everyone for an end to war and occupation everywhere. U.S. out of Iraq! U.S. out of Iraq! U.S. Canada out of Afghanistan! U.S. Canada out of Afghanistan! No war on Iran! No war on Iran! No to war and occupation! No to war and occupation! Yes to self-determination! Yes to self-determination! Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to ask if your speaker, if we have the Raging Grannies, if you are going to be on this program and you have been asked, please move over here so we can find you when it's your turn, okay? Thanks so much. We're now going to hear from Hanan Suarez Diaz from Iraq Veterans Against the War. Please give him a warm welcome.
How's it going, everybody? Good! So I'm Hanan Suarez Diaz with IVAW, and I just want to say a couple of things. One, we're here to show our support against the this is the 7th anniversary of the occupation of Iraq. I was there in 2004. We're going into the 8th year under a new president. Enough is enough. Over 1 million people in Iraq have been killed because of U.S. imperialism. Obama has expanded the war in Afghanistan into Pakistan. Enough is enough. The American people and the Afghani people, the Iraqi people, the Palestinian people are suffering enough, and we need to rebuild and reignite this movement in America today. I just have a message to President Obama. We're not going to let you off the hook, all right? You know what? We know our history, and Vietnam wasn't that long ago. And who was under the presidency then? It was a Democrat, all right? We cannot forget our history. We have to rebuild. We have to pressure this current administration. There's no excuse that a president and a Congress, it's all Democrats, that are allowing approved billions of dollars for more war and occupation, and there's people in this country, Americans, that can't even go to school. They can't go to work because there isn't any work. School, it's becoming a privilege, not a right. There is no excuse. There is no excuse, and I'm tired of it, and I'm glad that everyone's here today in solidarity with all the oppressed people in the world. Solidarity!
All right, we're now going to hear names of the victims, the deaths of Afghanistan. So would the readers please step forward?
Tor John, a 2-year-old boy, and Maraka, his 4-year-old sister, were killed at 7:30 in the morning on July 27th, 2008 near Kandahar, Afghanistan, when occupation soldiers opened fire on a vehicle they said was being driven in a threatening manner and ignoring warnings.
Yeah, you probably will. Sorry.
An Afghan woman and Daoud John, an Afghan man. Daoud John's 4 sons were killed by a midnight drone on October 3rd, 2008 in a village in northern Pakistan. Villagers said, "We found body parts scattered all over the place in the ruins. Someone's hand, someone's leg."
Abdul Shakur, who was Sadia Bibi's brother, Abdul Shakur's wife, a boy, Matiula, 16, Abdul Halim's neighbor, a man and a woman from the village of Raouf, killed in a U.S. precision bombing raid on the remote village of Raouf. A weeping Sadia said, "The children were crying, and they were very afraid. These planes killed my relatives. We are poor and innocent people. Why are they killing us?" Bibi's 20-year-old daughter, Najiba, and infant grandson were injured by flying bricks. A relative said his neighbor's house had been flattened, killing the man who lived there. Noor Mohammed's 8 family members were killed. 3 children were injured. Dean Mohammed, 70, was injured when during the night a U.S. precision projectile, probably aimed at the 5-megawatt Soviet-built radio transmitter in Kabul, missed and hit a home, caving in the roof.
All right. So the next speaker is Stephen Talley from Nicholsville, and before he comes up and speak, I want to say a couple things. The first thing is that the same government that's oppressing people here in this country is oppressing people halfway around the world, and we need to show common cause with people living around the world and not the people running this empire. American lives are not more important than other people's lives, and we need to think about everybody around the world so all of us can get free, because if we aren't thinking about humanity, then nobody's going to be free. So join me in welcoming Stephen Talley from Nicholsville.
Thank you, thank you. As you guys know, $750 billion, $200 million has been spent, but what about us at home? Veterans, out of work, we need help too. We have homeless camps, and it would take so little for them to help us. So many homeless lives have been lost. Thank you so much to the Women in Black. They hold a vigil every Thursday at 9 o'clock. To represent the dead lives of homeless people. It's way bigger than I've seen. I mean, when I got involved, I just want to help because we need help. What about us here, citizens? All that money's going over there. God bless them. Get our troops home. Stop losing our lives. But we're losing lives right here in our own country. And that's just not acceptable. And I think you guys know where I'm headed, right? Anybody? Thank you. I can't speak too long, but I love you all. Thank you for coming, and God bless the people everywhere in this world.
All right. One of the issues we wanted to raise here today very strongly was the issue of Haiti. It's in everyone's hearts, the suffering of the people of Haiti, not only as a result of the earthquake, but the suffering they had experienced for so long due to exploitation and oppression. So we're very fortunate to have here a local well-known and well-loved activist, Jesse Hagopian. He's a school teacher who was laid off. He was in Haiti at the time of the earthquake and was able to help with the rescue work. Please welcome Jesse Hagopian.
My 1-year-old son and my wife and I all survived the earthquake in Haiti. But 300,000 Haitians did not survive, at least. Many more are wounded and are still trying to get aid, food, water, and some 2 million people in Haiti are homeless and searching for a place to live as the coming rainy season is approaching and is likely to wash out a lot of basic infrastructure and spread disease, and they have a tough struggle ahead. In the immediate aftermath of the earthquake, my family began providing first aid as best we could. We weren't trained medical professionals, but we did the best work we could to try to bandage up people who were coming with the worst injuries you can imagine from crushing concrete blocks. And as we were providing this medical aid, we would find out later that our government was coming in not with help, not with doctors, but with troops to come and occupy the country of Haiti. Because where we saw a tragedy, our government saw an opportunity. Where we saw people in need, our government saw a possibility to come and gain advantage strategically in the area. I drove around for hours on the third day after the earthquake in Port-au-Prince. And we didn't see a single uniformed official. We didn't see one uniformed official from any government, US, UN, anywhere, helping to dig anybody out of the rubble. The third day is critical. If you don't get water to people on the third day, they're going to be dehydrated and die. So when you hear those estimates of hundreds of thousands of people dead there, know that tens of thousands of them could have been saved had there been a priority of bringing in water, of rescuing people. All we saw when we drove around was ordinary Haitians climbing over rubble, trying to peel it back to find a loved one to help dig them out. The only uniformed help we saw was in the form of cadaver removal. There are certain streets you would drive down and hundreds of bodies are piled up on the street, and the bulldozers are there to pick up those bodies and throw them in the back of Mack trucks, but the bulldozers weren't there to help dig out the people who are still alive trapped under the rubble. It's shameful. So I think we have to think about all the excuses that we heard, right? When I got back to the U.S., I heard that, well, the U.S. couldn't get there in a timely fashion because there were all these different problems that kept our nation an hour and a half away by plane from delivering this aid in a timely way. We heard about the airport and the roads and many different excuses for why the aid couldn't be brought there, but I just want you to think for a minute. When the U.S. sees an opportunity to exploit the world and they want to wage war in the Middle East, they can get hundreds of thousands of troops there just as fast as they'd like when it's an opportunity for war, right? But when it's an opportunity to save people's lives, all of a sudden the roads aren't good enough to get down, right? And all of a sudden the airport isn't good enough. Well, there's 2 other airports on that island in the Dominican Republic. If it's a priority, send the aid there and bring it over by land quickly. So I have a message for us today, and that's that the Haitian people need food, not M16s, right? They need water, not weapons. They need gauze, not guns. And I think that the Haitian people perhaps have the most amazing history of resistance to imperialism, probably of any country anywhere in the world. You should know that the great slave generals Toussaint and Dessalines led the rebellion of slaves and made the first country in world history where slaves overthrew their masters and took over the country, right? You have slaves defeating the greatest armies in world history. They defeated the Spanish, they defeated the British, they defeated the French, right? You have an amazing history of struggle in Haiti. In 1986, they overthrew Baby Doc dictator. Just in 2008, when food prices jumped up beyond what people could afford and they were eating mud, the people in Haiti paralyzed the country in mass demonstrations until they got the food prices down to where people could survive. And probably most importantly for us, the Haitian people defeated the U.S. occupation of Haiti in 1934. Through mass strikes, right? Through student demonstrations, they drove out our military, and they're going to be there again to do that same thing. In the tent camps that they're organizing, Those people who are part of those struggles are there helping to organize basic food and security for the people of Haiti when our government won't. Those struggles will rise again, and when they do, they're going to need our solidarity, because the U.S. sees Haiti as an island where they can have a military to stage us as a staging ground to confront Venezuela, to confront Bolivia, to confront all of the powers that are getting out of their control. And when the Haitian people rise up and reject that military presence, they will need our help to stop that occupation. They will need our demands, and I want to end on this. They're going to need us to tell our government, one, the Haitian people don't owe the world a dime. We need to drop the debt now in Haiti. They're going to need us to say that Aristide, who was illegally kidnapped in 2004 under the Bush administration, has the right to return to his country, and that the party of Lavalos that has been banned in Haiti with support of the UN has the right to be part of the elections. They're going to need us to demand the right of Haitians who need to flee their country and to come to the United States, the right to immigrate here to the United States. And lastly, they need us to demand of our government an immediate end to the occupation, bring the troops home from Haiti now, and spend that money on flooding the country of Haiti with doctors, flooding the country of Haiti with engineers, flooding it with nurses, flooding it with supplies, right? And medical equipment, and not troops. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much. And, you know, the U.S. makes such a big deal about how supportive they've been of Haiti, but what was the country that was already there on the ground with doctors? It was Cuba was there with doctors on the ground, there to help people, and have sent more and more people because they have a lot of experience in recovering from natural disasters. And I wanted to say, we've been talking at this program, we really wanted to have a program that brought home to people the brutal reality of war and occupation. And we know that these wars are not for the purpose of spreading democracy or bringing peace to a region. These are wars for empire, to grow the profits of the military-industrial complex. And we're not trying to depress you with these facts, but to shine the light of truth on what is happening, what is being paid for by our tax dollars. We have been reading the names of just some of the people who have died, not only to mourn them, but to remind them of our duty to them all, the living and the dead, to fight like hell to end these wars. What will it take to end these wars? What will it take to bring genuine social justice to this racist society that is racked by inequality? A society where teachers like Jesse are laid off from their jobs while bankers get bonuses. A society where millions lack health care while the Pentagon has $1 trillion budget. What will it take? What has it taken for genuine social change in the past? It has taken a mass movement, a grassroots movement like the civil rights movement that has struggled on through difficulties and setbacks, as well as through the upsurges and the great victories. That's what it's going to take to end these wars and to create the kind of truly just society that will lay the basis for genuine peace. A peace that is not simply the absence of violence, but is the positive presence of justice among us. You are here today because you are part of that movement. Some of you may be attending your first demonstration ever. Others are veterans of many, many struggles and have been here longer than I have. I'm asking you today to deepen your commitment to this movement for justice and peace. Who here is willing to go to a higher level of commitment for peace and justice? I want you to raise your hand if you're willing to go to a higher level of commitment to peace and justice. Okay, now take that hand, put it in your pocket, and take out your wallet, because we have some volunteers here who are going to come among you, and they're going to start collecting some donations, because the movement needs your support. Dedicated rallies don't organize mobilize themselves. A dedicated coalition of Answer, World Can't Wait, SNOW, IVAW, Veterans for Peace, and Code Pink came together to put on this demonstration, and we also had many endorsers from many other organizations. And there are many expenses associated with putting on an event like this, from the sound system to the leaflets that we distributed, as well as the permits. Some of us put expenses on our credit cards to make this all happen. So please give generously so that this movement can move forward without debt and continue to be strong, so we can have future demonstrations and not worry about how much it's going to cost or can we afford to do it. That should not be what stops us or is the deciding factor in whether or not we have a protest. Now, the buckets should be moving around. You can, of course, put in cash. If you want to make a check, you could write it out to Answer and then put March 21 on it. And if you talk to me, if you want to make a tax-deductible donation, I can give you that information as well. So together we can do it. Peace with justice now!
So there are going to be buckets coming around. People should see them and donate. And now I want to present the Raging Grannies, who are going to be doing some performances for us while you're donating. Go girls.
Very nicely. Let's have peace. Read our lips. Thank you. Obama, we don't need the war. We don't want the war anymore. We told leader that he was a cheater. We don't want the war anymore. Obama, get out of Iraq. Get out and don't ever come back. We're glad you're elected, but now we're expected to pull out the troops from Iraq. Obama, we're bombing Afghans. Protect their home, family, and lands. Don't spend our millions on armaments of billions. Show them that we understand. Obama, we send you this song. It's not that you'll never go wrong, but we must remind you that we stand behind you. Just pull out where we don't belong. Bring the troops back home right now while there's
another round of applause for the grannies. Before we moved on to our next speaker, I wanted to say something, share something with you. Earlier in the program, Emma and I both mentioned the drone attacks in Pakistan, which is of course being done by the United States. This is a terrible genocidal thing that the United States is doing, allegedly in pursuit of the Taliban in Pakistan. And we have a person here today, and I think we should all just give him a warm salute. An activist is visiting here from India, and he wanted to make sure that we talked about what's happening in Pakistan. And of course, if you're aware of this political situation, the very deep significance of someone from India, which is of course considered an enemy of Pakistan, is concerned and wants us to highlight the issue of Pakistan at our demonstration. So I think we should all just give us a show of solidarity and salute to our opposition to U.S. intervention anywhere, including the drone attacks in Pakistan. Thank you. Okay, back to the program. We're going to hear now from Dr. Nada Elia. As you may know, Israel is the #1 recipient of U.S. military aid and serves as a proxy military force for the United States in the Middle East. Nada is here to talk to us about what's happening in Palestine today and the boycott, divest, and sanctions movement that is growing and developing at this time. Please welcome Nada Elia.
I'd like to begin by honoring the dead. I would like to begin by honoring the dead of the Sharpeville massacre 50 years ago today. Those innocent South Africans did not die in vain. Their death proved to be a turning point in the anti-apartheid struggle. And South Africa remains our model to this day. Shall I? Ooh, this one's working, right? Okay. I'm going to repeat myself because I think it's important to honor South Africa. I want to begin by honoring the dead of the Sharpeville massacre 50 years ago today. These innocent South Africans did not die in vain. Their death proved to be a turning moment in the anti-apartheid struggle. And South Africa remains our model today. Many of us are mad at Obama, who made us believe he can bring about change, when all he delivered is a whole lot more of the same. More war, more deform when we need reform, and more concessions to Israel. To me, Obama is just a reminder, and possibly the most convincing reminder, that no president of the US is capable of bringing about change. Change cannot and will not happen from above. Change will and must come from the grassroots. From those of us. Change will come from those of us who want it so bad that 7 years into the Iraq war, we're still protesting that war. Change can and will come from the Palestinians who, 62 years into their dispossession, their displacement, their ethnic cleansing, their Nakba, are still protesting this gross injustice, the violation of their human rights on a daily basis. Not only is it in our power to bring about change, we actually are the only ones who can bring about change. That's the lesson we've learned from Obama, our supposed so-called change president. And this lesson is actually good news. We don't need to call for change, we can actually implement it ourselves. We, not our supposed representatives, are the ones who will initiate and ultimately bring about the change we are longing for. In the case of Palestine, each and every one of us has the power to bring about change. That change is in the form of a global and comprehensive BDS movement, a movement for boycott, divestment and sanctions modeled upon the South African struggle against apartheid. And it is a movement, a campaign we all can take part of. Each and every one of us can engage in a consumer boycott. All that it entails is not buying a product that is made in Israel. Just as we did not buy products from apartheid South Africa, we do not buy products from apartheid Israel. There are a few Israeli products available here in Seattle. Trader Joe's carries Israeli feta, Israeli couscous, and Israeli herbs, and we can boycott these. And we can also tell Trader Joe's that we don't want to shop at a store that caters supposedly to socially responsible customers while selling products from an apartheid state. But boycotting Israeli products is not enough. Israeli consumer products is not enough, because Israel is also waging a propaganda campaign to fix its image through culture and the arts. We can also counter this propaganda campaign by boycotting the cultural products Israel is sponsoring so as to fix its image while it continues with its ever harsher apartheid and genocidal measures. Over the past few years, Israel has channeled millions of dollars not only into the war machine, but also into the propaganda machine, into a propaganda campaign to present itself as a cool, hip country, an oasis of tolerance in an otherwise barbaric, uncultured, and hostile environment. It is doing so by sending us artists, movies, dance groups that all show Israel as a haven of artistic creativity, and these artists, these artistic products are used as a smokescreen for the ugliness of Israel's reality, an apartheid reality. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is very well documented. The three main foreign ministries of Israel, the foreign ministry, the Prime Minister's office, and the finance ministry are actually funding a campaign, a propaganda campaign to fix Israel's image without fixing its policies. In other words, Israel is whitewashing its war crimes, its genocidal measures, its apartheid policies with beautiful art. And we must not be fooled, because inside that sugarcoating is apartheid, is genocide. Inside that sugarcoating is apartheid, just as inside Israel's rubber-coated bullets are real copper bullets. Only yesterday, 2 Palestinian children were killed by those rubber-coated bullets. Israel's cultural propaganda is an artistic coating of its genocidal measures, and we, the people who have had enough, the people who do not expect Hillary Clinton to stand up to Israel tomorrow at the IPAC meeting, each and every one of us can stand up to this cultural propaganda and refuse to be fooled. And that's the beauty of BDS. That's the beauty of the boycott, divest, and sanctions movement, that we all can do it without expecting anything from our political leaders. Not yet, anyway. There is a lot we can do. Today's rally is just a valve for our frustrated energy, and there are creative, productive ways we can put that energy to use and obtain concrete results. Those ways all fall within BDS, the boycott, divestment movement, sanctions, modeled upon the black South African struggle that ended apartheid South Africa. That is our model, and we can do it. BDS stands for boycott, divest, and sanctions. Our model is the South African campaign. The South African campaign put an end to apartheid in South Africa. The Palestinian call for BDS can put an end to apartheid in Israel. It is within everyone's reach, and it is what the Palestinian people, not the leaders, have asked us to do if we are to stand and act in solidarity with them. BDS is a genuine, transnational, grassroots solidarity movement of civilian people everywhere who are saying no to violence, no to war, no to occupation, no to apartheid. So if you want to be part of the solution, be part of the BDS movement. I can't give you specifics now about the BDS movement, but just this morning I was on Facebook and I created a group called BDS Seattle. So please, if you are on Facebook at all, go home and get to the BDS Seattle Facebook group, and there will be lots of room for discussion, for explanation, for questions. I'm willing to give you all of the answers answers that I have. I don't have absolutely all the answers, but I have a whole lot because I'm an organizer with the BDS movement. So please go home. If you're not on Facebook, if you can't join the BDS Seattle group on Facebook, go to bdsmovement.net and it will give you lots and lots of action items. Because we need to form this group, we need to come together because we know change will not come from above, and we also know change is on its way, change is happening. The cracks in Israel's wall of immunity, the cracks in the apartheid wall are multiplying with each and every action that we take. For decades, Israel has gotten away with its endless crimes against Palestinian humanity because of our ignorance, our silent complicity, and because some of us actually believed Israel's propaganda, that Israel can be a democracy while engaging in apartheid against the people whose land it is occupying, the people it has turned into refugees, denying them the universally recognized right of return to their historic homeland.
That's right.
Today, we are standing up to Israel and we're saying, we're not buying your lies, your propaganda anymore. We've woken up to the ugly reality. Our naivete, our silent complicity are over. The pillar of support that we were providing Israel through our silent complicity is through our learned helplessness, through our dependence on leaders who would never stand up to Israel. That pillar of support is now starting to crack. Without that pillar of support that we were providing, Israel cannot go on with its apartheid and its genocidal measures. That pillar is beginning to crack thanks to BDS. And we can push it over, and BDS is the way.
That's right. That's right.
Go home today, and those of you on Facebook, get to that group, and those of you not on Facebook, if you don't want to get on Facebook, you can still engage in the global boycott, divest movement. You can get all your information from bdsmovement.com. Remember, it is we, the people, who alone have the power to bring about change and to help free Palestine.
Yeah.
The Sharpeville massacre 50 years ago was a turning point in the South African struggle. For Palestinians, our Sharpeville was Operation Cast Lead, Israel's assault on Gaza last year. Let that moment be the turning moment. Let that massacre be the last massacre. And join us in solidarity. Join us in BDS. Thank you.
Gotta move this down a little bit. So our next speaker is one of the co-sponsors of this march, Vets for Peace, and speaking for Vets for Peace is Jerry Condon, who is the vice president of the VFP 92 chapter here in Seattle. So join me in welcoming Jerry Condon.
Hi, I'm Jerry Condon. I'm the president of Veterans for Peace, Chapter 92 in Greater Seattle. We have a lot of Veterans for Peace in the house today. You can't hear me? Is that better? I have to shout. Okay. Veterans for Peace is in the house. We have members from chapters here today in Seattle, Tacoma, Olympic Peninsula, Bellingham, and Wenatchee at least. And Veterans for Peace has really grown a lot because of the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War. We've grown to over 8,000 members nationwide and with chapters in 150 cities. And we welcome you to join us if you're veterans, members of military families, or if you could put up with veterans, you're also welcome to join us. One of the primary focuses for Veterans for Peace nationally and here in Seattle is support for GI resistors. Since the beginning of the Vietnam War, tens of thousands of soldiers have gone AWOL, and many of them remain AWOL. There are hundreds in Canada seeking sanctuary, and I'm glad to say that some of their Canadian supporters are here with us today from the Mobilization Against War and Occupation. You can visit their table right over here on the side. Say hello to them. Aside from those who've gone AWOL, there's also thousands of reservists who've just not shown up when they were called back up from the individual ready reserve. We hear stories about soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan doing what some of our GIs did during the Vietnam War, going on those famous search and avoid missions. In other words, hiding out and avoiding contact with the enemy. Of course, there are also a number of courageous GIs who have stood up publicly refusing to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan. Travis Bishop is sitting in the brig at Fort Lewis right now. He was sentenced to 1 year in prison because he's an Iraq veteran, by the way, too. He said, no more war, I'm not going to go to Afghanistan, it's against my principles, it's against my morals, it's against my religious beliefs. So he was sentenced to 1 year in prison, but there was so much support for him, hundreds of letters, thousands of letters from 22 countries came in, and because of that, the Army has shortened his sentence by 3 months, and he's going to get out next week. So we're very excited about that. You know, the so-called volunteer army is not exactly a volunteer army. I mean, first of all, we're talking about poor and working class young men and women who had no other opportunities for jobs, or they didn't think they did at least, for jobs or higher education. They were easy prey for recruiters in their slick sales pitches. The recruiters will tell them anything they want to hear. But when they get in, they find out it's a whole other story. And some of them aren't even allowed to leave. We're going to talk about that. One GI I want to tell you a story about right now. His name is Mark Hall. He's an African-American man from Harlan. He's a rapper. And he's an Iraq veteran. Spent 14 months in combat in Iraq. Came back with serious PTSD. His mother says he's very much a different person. That's a pretty familiar story. Anyway, he endured all that. He was about to get out of the Army. His time of service was about to be over. And the Army told him, no, we're not letting you out. You've been stop-lossed. You're going to go back to Iraq again. And so he was righteously pissed off. He wrote a very angry rap song against stop-loss, the stop-loss policy. Yeah, rap! Speaking truth to power, he actually sent that rap song to the Pentagon.
Right.
They liked it so much that they sent it back to his command. He actually had a couple of his officers and NCOs tell him they thought it was a pretty cool song, but he had to kind of tone down some of the gangster part. He got so frustrated seeking treatment for his PTSD within the Army, they sent him to a counselor who just really didn't help him at all, didn't even try to help him, and was just sending him back to war. He actually filed a complaint with the Inspector General of the Army at Fort Stewart, Georgia, where he was based, in December. Okay, this is 5 months after he'd written the rap song and sent it to the Pentagon. He files an Inspector General report, and 5 days later, the Army arrested him, charging him with 11 counts of undermining the good order of the Army, and ironically charging him with threatening violence. These are pretty serious charges. I mean, he's facing a general court-martial that could potentially put him away for years. And all he's done is write a rap song against the stop-loss policy and file an Inspector General complaint, which is totally legal. But the Army clearly is threatened by what he's done because there's growing discontent. It's pretty broad and pretty deep, much deeper than we know within the military. And the stop-loss policy in particular is something that almost all GIs, all soldiers and Marines are pissed off about. The Army wanted to squelch him right away. What happened is his mother got in touch with a Courage to Resist and Iraq Veterans Against the War and Veterans for Peace. And now all of those groups, along with his family, have formed an ad hoc group called Family and Friends of Mark Hall. We are raising money for his, actually we were able to secure him a lawyer and a doctor who could do a full mental health evaluation, which would be very important in his court-martial. The Army responded by sending him back to the Middle East. He's now sitting in an Army stockade, an Army jail in Kuwait, thousands of miles away from his lawyer, his family, his supporters, and the American media. Surprise, surprise. So they want to have a big general court-martial, but virtually in secret. So this is really kind of up the ante for us. The family and friends of Mark Hall, which, as I said, include members of Veterans for Peace, Iraq Veterans Against the War, and Courage to Resist, are raising money. We need to raise $20,000 to get his lawyer over there, to get his doctor over there, to get some witnesses over there, we have a flyer that's circulating in the crowd today, so you can find out more about this case. You can make contributions to couragetoresist.org online. Go to couragetoresist.org. And I think it's just really critical that if we're serious about ending a U.S. foreign policy of war and occupation, we need to support Mark Hall, we need to support all the GI resistors, and we need to encourage resistance within the military. And, you know, there's not going to be real serious mass resistance in the military until there's real serious mass resistance in our entire society. And so I'm really glad to see people out here today, because I think, you know, any of us who had illusions about the current president, those illusions have been pretty well shattered. The policy of war and occupation continues. We're basically in a state of permanent war, so we have to be in a state of a permanent peace movement. And we have to reach out. You know, we got to get over our feeling demoralized, powerless, depressed, etc., and get out, be part of actions like this, get in motion with other people who are resisting, get in motion with the GI resistors, and we also have to reach out to those who are fighting the economic struggles, who are fighting for jobs, who are fighting for education, who are fighting for health care. It's fighting for housing. Link up all these struggles for peace and justice, and then we're going to see that we do have a lot of power. We actually can bring these wars and occupations to an end. I'm really happy that Veterans for Peace and Iraq Veterans Against the War and military families Speak Out are going to be marching together today. In fact, we're going to be the lead contingent in the march. So let's get ready to march.
All right, we're going to hear some more names.
Okay, this will be our final time with names, and we're going to commemorate by reading just a small sampling of the soldiers' names. So far, as of this moment today, there's 120 soldiers from Washington State who have died, and of course over 5,000 have died in the Iraq and Afghanistan crisis. Joe Coughlin is going to be the first reader of names, and we'll do the same sort of thing. We'll say a few names, and then on the signal we'll say presente, they are with us. Thank you, Joe. Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Staff Sergeant Michael L. Burbank from Bremerton, Washington, 34 years of age, killed on October 11th, 2004 in Mosul, Afghanistan. Presente! Lance Corporal Jeremy W. Burris, Tacoma, Washington, 22 years of age, got killed on October 8th, 2007 in Ambar Province. Presente! PFC Cody Caliban, Lake Stevens, Washington, 19 years old. He was killed on May 29, 204 in Anbar Province. Presente.
Our next reader will be Helen Jacquard, and she will read names as well.
Specialist Robert T. Benson, Spokane, Washington, 20 years old, November 2003 in Baghdad. Specialist Aaron S. Ahmad, Custer, Washington, 22 years old, November 09, Jalawar, Afghanistan. Presente. First Lieutenant Michael R. Adams, Seattle, Washington, 24 years old, March 2004 in Iraq. Presente.
Lance Corporal Destin Canham, Lake Stevens, 21 years old, killed on March 23rd, 208 in Iraq. Presente. First Lieutenant Jamie L. Campbell, Fredo, Washington, 25 years of age, killed on January 7th, 206 in Talafar. Presente. PFC Casey S. Caliker, Oakwam, Washington, 20 years old, killed on June 13th, 207 of non-combat injuries. Presente. First Lieutenant Benjamin J. Colgan, Kent, Washington, 30 years of age, killed on November 1st, 2003 in Baghdad, Iraq.
Thank you very much. That will conclude this portion. And I cannot fail to mention to me, the youth of the people. Most of those names were in their 20s or early 30s. And they went because they had ideals, or maybe for economic reasons, and they went and did what they could.
So we say we don't want another single troop to die. We don't want another single Afghani or Iraqi to die. We say bring them home now. That's the way to support the troops. All right, you might be able to tell we are almost done with our program. We're going to have one more important part of the program, as well as some directions for you, and then we're going to hear from the Peace Chorus, and then we're going to march. So let me just give you some instructions about the march. We're going to be lining up on the sidewalk at the south end of this park, down at the other end by Pike Street, and then we will go into the street on Pike and march east on Pike, and then come back around on 8th, and then go down towards Pike Place Market and end up in Victor Steinbrook Park. So I just want to give everyone a heads up, that's the route we're taking. And as you know, we've been hearing the names of the victims of this war. But at the same time, and of course we want to remember those people, but in a sense, those were people whose lives were sacrificed in the most wasteful and terrible way. And we want to also recognize our fallen heroes, those people who dedicated their lives to peace and justice. And we want to in a sense, they are our fallen heroes, and we want to dedicate this march to them. And so the first person we want to acknowledge, we want to mourn the death and honor the life of O'Kelly McCluskey, a World War II veteran and a founding member of Veterans for Peace in Western Washington, who passed away in February. He was a passionate and urgent advocate for peace and justice. He founded the Virtual Peace Academy and made it his job to honor heroes in the peace and justice movement with his Medal of Conscience. Among those to whom he gave this honor were Howard Zinn, Ralph Nader, Kathy Kelly, Cindy Sheehan, Rachel Corrie, and GI resistors Aaron Watada and Benji Lewis. Even in his final days, he attempted to travel to Venezuela to honor President Hugo Chavez. He never aimed low, he always aimed high. He will be greatly missed, but never forgotten. O'Kelly McCluskey, presente. Presente. All right, we're having a bell problem here.
All right. So this week also marks the 7th anniversary of the murder of Olympia activist Rachel Corrie. And for all you young people out here, Rachel Corrie was a young person who dedicated her life to ending the occupation in Gaza, and she was killed by Israeli Defense Forces while she was attempting to prevent IDF forces from demolishing the home of a Palestinian pharmacist. Her example and her writings have inspired countless countries and raised consciousness around the world. Rachel Corrie, presente!
All right, finally, we want to dedicate our efforts to Howard Zinn, the author of A People's History of the United States and many other works, a tireless fighter for social justice, and he has inspired generations of young activists to get involved. Howard Zinn, presente. Please join us for a moment of silence to honor O'Kelly McCluskey, Rachel Corrie, Howard Zinn, and all of our fallen heroes in the struggle for peace with justice. Presente.
So we're going to have the Peace Chorus come up and sing a couple songs, and then we're going to march. And I just want to say a couple of things. Many of us have protested these wars from the beginning. But people ask, why didn't these protests stop the war? Because too many people in the anti-war movement confined their protests to lobbying and campaigning, which served to demobilize mass protests, and here we are today. On the other hand, what would the world have looked like if there wouldn't have been those mass protests? Would people have come to see the war as illegitimate and criminal if we hadn't have been out there? Would people know and oppose torture to the degree that they do now? Now this movement must shake off its paralysis and once again act in a way that is so visible and powerful it cannot be ignored anymore by the powers that be and can be seen all over the world. And this time around, if the anti-war movement chooses to only focus on domestic issues while people in the Middle East are counting us, this will be an unconscionable betrayal. The disappointment and outrage that people feel must be correctly channeled into the streets. And today must be the day where we begin to puncture the lies and the paralysis. We are setting out to build a movement so strong that it cannot be ignored. I'm speaking for World Can't Wait. A movement with youth who drive recruiters off campus, a movement of millions of people that stays in the streets until these wars end and Bush and Cheney and all other war criminals are prosecuted for war crimes. This is what we're going out to do. So let's get ready to march, and join me in welcoming the Peace Chorus.
Okay, everybody sing along with us. We're gonna lay down my sword and shield down by